Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're here live. I'm here with Paulina and Gabriel from Brazil, and we send you all of our love. And yeah, Paulina and Gabriel just WhatsApped me, and they're actually in the middle of starting a spiritual community for Jesus right down there in Brazil. So I thought, well, this probably will be a talk with some good insights and questions and answers and guidance and things for other people who actually also have the idea of starting a community for Jesus. And this is really a mystical community too. We're not talking about like a religious community per se, but this is about transformation of our awareness and our consciousness and opening up to the living Christ. And you can see over my shoulder there's a little picture of Jesus, and then between Paulina and Gabriel, there's on the wall is a symbol of the Holy Spirit. So we've got the whole Trinity here. God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Ghost are all with us to help us bring clarity to such a topic. So, yeah, maybe you just want to start off with what you were experiencing. And so I know from our discussions and my visits to Brazil and my discussions with you, and you visited the monastery up in Utah and visited a community in Mexico as well, that you had one house that you were having built. You were designing it with like a theater room, a movie room, and designing the kitchen and going through all that process. And then recently, you also came into another house that is in fairly close proximity to the house that you were building and designing. So, a lot of times when people think about starting a community, I mean, over the years, people would call me up and say, I'm thinking of starting a community. They call me on my cell phone and they say, I've got the building, or I've got the building in mind. But actually, that's really not the first thing that goes into starting a community for Jesus. If it was so easy, it would be like making chocolate milk. Just put chocolate syrup in and stir, and all you have to do is get a house or a building and then say, okay, this is a community for Jesus, and presto, we have a community for Jesus with all the community members. It doesn't really work that way. There's so many steps. So sometimes when people would call me and ask me about the process of starting a spiritual community, when they would say they have the building, I would kind of laugh and I would say, well, that's not really relevant. I know in the world that seems important. If you're going to have a company, it's nice to have a building to have your company in. But actually, with spiritual community, it starts much deeper with prayer and devotion and coming to clarity around your life's calling, and also the values that you hold dear. And I would say probably peace of mind is a good value to hold clear, because we have to have something to hold on to when all this unconscious darkness just comes up basically on a daily basis. And it feels like we're navigating a ship in stormy waters, and the ship is tipping around and tipping over. And without peace of mind as our goal, then it would almost seem pointless to try to do mind training or to practice forgiveness on a daily basis without a strong goal in place. So anyway, maybe you can just both share a little bit about what's been going on, because I know both the houses are now kind of coming into play a little bit, and then you have some people I think probably showing up, and then that's typically a mix for trouble with houses and people. I think you think back to those days of your small apartment in Belo Horizonte, and think, oh my God, this life was so simple with that. I mean, Gabriel said he did have to step over a few things and go navigate to go get his pajamas in the closet. I remember you telling me that. But now with two houses, it seems to be a little bit different context than that small apartment. And you certainly wanted some more space, but then now it seems like there's more things arising. Maybe you can share with myself and with everyone, what's going on.
Yes. Yeah, I think like the first thing I'm feeling to share is that we never thought having a community. Like never. And this is like this is deep because it's part of like our unwinding to let this happen like through us. So, and it's very intense because yeah, sometimes like Paulinha wants something, Gabriel wants something, and we need to like really heal this and watch this. And yeah, because wasn't like my plan or his plan. It feels like just like happened and we had like no choice. um so yeah, I think this is the first thing, like we never planned this. And this is why it feels so intense too, because it's not it's not like common. We don't have like past associations to use. Like if we watch like the symbols in the world, like for us, like it's a couple, you should get like, we got married, as you know, like we lived together first and then we got married, and then now you have to have children, and that's the script for like a couple. And actually this first house started with this. We hired, like we felt to buy the house, like, and was with prayer, like Jesus showed me the view of the house, and was really yeah, it was really beautiful. But after we bought it, like the ego came and brought like all the preferences and everything. Like it looked like Paulinha still wanted in the world, like to have a house, to have a white kitchen. And we needed to forgive everything. And yeah, and was really intense. So we hired like an architect to help us with the project. And the first project she showed us was like for a young couple, like to live there. And we look at the project like, oh my God, we can't see ourselves living there. Like this is not the life we want to have it. And since then, like everything fails to fall apart. And okay, so what is this? And we don't have like the past associations, like how is gonna work. Yeah, so
I remember one day that we were pretty excited with the house and designing the house and how it would be. And it was a Saturday with movie session. And we said, well, let's go to the movie session. We can stop a little bit designing a house and go to the movie workshop. And it was a film, I don't know the
you
name.
showed that
House,
movie,
Life of a House.
that the guy built the house and
He
then he
builds the
died.
house and he dies in the end, and it's not about building the house, it's about healing everything. And so and and it's something that we always come back, that it doesn't feel like building a house or building a community. It feels like unbuilding self-concept and unbuilding everything that is between us. And it seems to have a lot of layers, and it seems like reverse. So you start unbuilding the painting, the very superficial things, and you start to go deeper, and it feels sometimes harder. And it's uh, a beautiful symbol that now we are starting the foundation of the expansion of one of the houses. And my feeling is that we are reaching the foundations of our self-concepts. Like in reverse, they are meeting together, and without disrupting the ego foundations, you can't build the foundations of these next steps of going deeper. So it's a pretty intense unbuilding, and this symbol seems very confusing because you don't have like any guidance looking to the form, and it's really easy to fall into trying to organize things or look for symbols, and they are confused because the same symbol can be used by the Holy Spirit in a moment, and the next moment the ego uses it. So it's how to come back to the present trust and to remember the purpose. Like it's only about the purpose. Where come back to the purpose. It's not even about starting a community. It's not. It's about uncompromising the purpose and being fully immersed in the present moment, trust and guidance. Yeah.
Well, that's so beautiful because you really have both articulated that the whole spiritual journey is definitely not what we could have an imagination about or an idea of. I mean, for most of us, I think for both of you and for me growing up, if somebody had told me when I was a child or a teenager or even as a young adult, they had mentioned the words spiritual community, I would have said, "What's that?" Because I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know. And I think it's good. I didn't really know what I was walking into with the whole thing. And I think that's kind of the way the spiritual journey goes because it's such a journey of undoing. It's such a journey of dismantling. It's a journey of unwinding. And we grow up learning and believing that we need to find our purpose in life, and oftentimes our parents or friends or culture or books, will tell us, well, this is what you're supposed to do. Like you mentioned, you were in the middle of building and designing your first house when it started to come in more and more like what this was really about. Because as you both talked about, the preferences come up. And actually, it was only yesterday I was just sitting talking to Slava, and she said, "Oh, when Paulina visited, we did have a beautiful day where we went to that little restaurant cafe where we all went. Paulina and Slava went there, and she said Paulina opened up and told me about her life growing up and with her parents and all the things, and we had so many commonalities with different shameful things and things that we didn't want to even talk to the world about. But then she said, and because I said, yeah, now Gabriel and Paulina are taking all these major steps, and she said, why are they doing that? She said, sometimes I could just kick Paulina. She's got a gorgeous husband. She's got everything in life that I've always wanted. And why would you mess that up by going after this calling? Because I think what you're both talking about, it's the highest calling that there is. In the Eastern traditions of India, they call it self-realization. In the ancient Greeks, called it know thyself. Abraham Maslow, the famous psychologist, called it self-actualization. That was at the top of his pyramid. Know who you are. That's the purpose of everything, is to remember who you are. Remember God, and remember yourself as a pure creation, innocent, eternal creation of God. And yet, it's so opposite of all the conditioning. So that when you do find yourself kind of inside your heart saying yes, saying yes to, okay, I want to answer the calling. I don't want to push it aside and play a game or just play out my conditioning and then grow old, grow sick, and die. I want to actually go for a goal that was not set by me, but was set for me, of pure inner peace and innocence. And not that that's a goal in time, because that's probably the most disjunctive thing of all, is that all of our conditioning points towards future goals, building the kind of house we want, designing the kind of color schemes, the white kitchen. I remember when I was talking to my parents years ago when they were both alive, my mother and my dad would sit there in the living room and they say, the closest we came to getting divorced was when we put wallpaper up on that wall. They they were just trying to put wallpaper up on one wall in the house. And that was the closest they came to getting divorced, because probably all kinds of ego preferences and control and everything came up. And then they flew out of control. And as Jesus says in the Course, whoever is the saner of the two in that moment, remember the gratitude to your brother for what is really there. You know, like your brother is reflecting back your mind and your unconscious beliefs, and that's the only way you're going to make it, is through. It would take you trillions of years unless you had your brothers and sisters reflecting back what's in that mind, because ego did such a good hiding job. It hid it, it buried it, it locked the door, and it sealed it, so that mind would be a slave to the ego forever and ever and ever. And now there's some of us on the planet, not a lot, but there's some that seem to be part of a wave of awakening now. And it's dramatic, it's intense. There doesn't seem to be consistency, like you said, from month to month, because one month you're flowing with the Holy Spirit and you're seeing things done through you, and you're dancing and singing and laughing, and then the next month it's the same backdrop and it's just turned into a horror story. It's turned into like a nightmare. So I think right away, though, you both have really a good, strong foundation when you see that it's about healing the mind, it's about mind training, it's about trying to remember and choose the miracle as quickly as possible when it gets really chaotic and dramatic. And that takes a lot of willingness too, because there's so much pride involved in who's right, who's wrong. It takes like it's like a real strong willingness to just say, okay, wait a minute, let's stop a moment here. We're not at peace, and we need to take a pause here and take a moment to come back to the reverence and to the sacredness of this moment here. And I think it's actually helpful every day to remember that this is not about trying to achieve something in form. It's not about trying to accomplish something in form. One time, I mean, at the beginning for me, Jesus would take me all around the country, the United States, and then Canada, and then all around the world into people's homes and also into some spiritual communities. I went even down in, I think it was Venezuela, and some of the places I went, I was invited to ashrams, and I would go in there, and sometimes all the people were dressed in white or something, and there'd be some sort of a guru figure there, and I would be greeted, and I would be asked to participate in some kind of a big gathering, which I knew nothing of. I never had a guru. I never knew anything about spiritual communities, and I basically was taken by Jesus into people's households to learn how to pray and listen and follow and be of true service, to be of true helpfulness in so many people's living rooms and basements and backyards and kitchens before I ever went to what seemed to be a spiritual community, because Jesus was kind of like, oh, you're not even ready. You'll get freaked out. You walk in the front door of one of those communities, you know, you'll run out the back door. But it was more about praying that prayer, I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. That prayer at the beginning of the course. And then letting go of controlling anything. Because basically, initially, I was going into people's homes as a guest. I was invited in, I was being hosted, but it was their house. It was their house rules, it was their food, it was their space. And so it was almost like Jesus was injecting me like a little fluid and a needle into many different little petri dishes at a laboratory of different homes, where he was saying, the first thing to be truly helpful is you have to learn how to be humble and how to realize that you're there to bring a blessing. You're not there to change the situation. You're not there to change people. You're not there to change anything about the form. And this was actually decades ago, but recently Svava and I took a trip of about 12 days down through the southeastern United States and all the way to Florida and back. And it was just like the old days. It was, you had, you know, we really didn't stay. I think only one night out of the 12 days did we stay at a motel. I believe it was one night. So we had 11 days of being with people, living in their space and their rules and their everything. And it reminded me of like, wow, this feels very much like my very, very, very first travels where I was having to let go. Now, you both live in South America. Jesus did not start me off in South America. He started me off in the toddler pool, the kiddie pool, and then he had me splash my feet around. And it was actually about, let's see, well, about 17 years before Jesus took me to South America. I had 17 years to prepare for what I would experience in South America. And what happened was, mostly it was Argentina and Colombia and some of Venezuela, was I found myself in a place where I didn't speak the language, I didn't know the culture, and people were happy to see me, but at the beginning, they had very strong ideas of how we should spend our day and what we should do. And I was through 10 years of university and many years of the course and teaching students and some, you know, we had a little bit of structure and organization and everything. But it was like Jesus was like, he was throwing me into the Amazon River when I went to South America, because I would actually say to him some days, like, what is the purpose of this? And he would say, you have to let go of your agenda. And I said, am I supposed to teach the course? He said, not in the way that you have. I'm going to have to show you that with being with people in their environments, which is exactly what it was about letting go of all preferences, all control, all agendas for the entire day. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I think, God, give me 5 minutes. And sometimes it would be like, no, that's too much. It would start before I could go to the bathroom or brush my teeth. It would start, and then I would feel like I was kind of sucked into something. And then at night, when I would lay my head on the pillow, I would spit out. I was kind of sucked into something and then spit out, and I would just pray like, if I got to do this another day, and then yes, and then another day, and then another day, and then another day, and I thought, there's going to be nothing left of me. There's no me left. There's going to be no me left. And Jesus was like, yeah,
Yeah.
into me see. Don't look for intimacy in the bodies, into me see, into my Christ mind see with my eyes, perceive it with me, and you'll be able to laugh. Perceive it without me, and you believe you're on your own, and it's a drama. It's like a struggle. So I would have to say too. I mean, even here, I'm sitting in my office, and this morning our cat is very athletic. So the cat gets on the roof and comes to the screen right here and bangs on the screen for like 20 minutes, wanting me to let her in on the second floor. She's so acrobatic, she has no problem getting up. But I just had to continue my work in the office and under my guidance. And then finally, I went down a little bit later and I looked around the yard and there she was meowing. And I said, oh, come. She did get down, but I had to really let go of any kind of expectations about a cat on a roof to let it play out. And I think that's probably one of the most difficult things with people. It's difficult in partnerships, but also when you have other people that like you both got married, but when you are living with other people, then it seems like the matrix of complexity in terms of preferences and agendas can seem to go a little bit higher. It's intense enough with two people, but that's the thing I noticed, and I think that's why Jesus took me to so many households, and actually then I did have so many visits to communities because I could see that there was a lesson, and the lesson was to find peace. Like I could say there wasn't like a form lesson; it was more just a lesson to come to like a consistency of peace of mind, and that's really what was the core lesson underneath it. Because without that, it just can seem like the ego sets it up for failure. You know, when I first started even getting some internal guidance to start a spiritual community, I did the thing like most people would do. I Googled it. And when I Googled it, I was shocked to find that 85% of all communities fail. They had a broad range, a broad definition. They were like eco communities where they share food or share growing food or share childcare or share certain kind of values and beliefs. So then when I looked at the idea of like spiritual community, not just a religious community based on some theology or some philosophy or church, but the ones based on like awakening or self-realization or something like that, which A Course in Miracles is aimed at that. And I think the mystical teachings of Jesus and the apostles and Mary Magdalene and everything, they were all very much into spiritual awakening, but they were very misunderstood by the culture of their day. And I think even 2,000 years later, they're very much misunderstood because there's so many things that are assigned to them or projected onto them that really didn't have anything to do with what they were attempting, you know, in their mind. So yeah, so maybe if you have any specifics in terms of, so where is it at now with the two houses? Are you able to live in both of them, or are they still kind of works in progress in terms of construction and getting things set up and everything?
Yeah, like right now we are still at the apartment. It feels important to like end this circle here, like finish this this place somehow. We don't know when exactly, but the Frequência do Amor house is ready and it's working. Like right now, Patricia is there. She's painting. We received a donation of a table and chairs, and she's now like painting and finishing some things there. And yeah, like this first house that appeared after we bought the first one, it's like it's ready to work. There are some still some things to fix because we rented this house and it's like old house, so we needed like some things at the laundry and some, yeah. But yeah, the other house, it's the first part was it's almost finished. I think like October will be ready, and we're gonna start to extend this house because we rebuilt it, this first one, and the plan is to extend it. So yeah, this week we received the permission from the government to start doing that. So I think that's why things started to arise, because was the like green light to really start the foundation of this extension. And it's so symbolic because we needed to unbuild to rebuild and now extend.
Yeah, and it seems with this foundation that we seem to be talking about start the foundation of the second part of the house. There is an unwinding of the foundations of the ego and self-concepts. And yesterday we looked a lot to the fear of consequence of taking the wrong path, to maybe, well, are we listening to the guidance? The guidance is to expand the house or not? And if we do it and it was not the guidance, we could be making error, and that could cost us our peace of mind. So a lot of this fear of consequence, and we could find peace on the fact that it's not about the future or the house being built, but to remember to be in present trust, and we can't mess it up, because if it's feeling some kind of drama, or it's just to remember to come back to the present moment. And there's a lot of fear of the ego mixing up with the spiritual in a spiritual project. So we are looking to a lot of these ideas of trying to bring truth to delusion.
Yeah, we don't.
So how to make sure that it's always bringing the illusion to the truth. And I see a lot of intensity of ego thoughts coming and doubt thoughts. So this night I wake up in the middle of the night thinking, wow, it's too big, the house is too complex, maybe there is preference of us, maybe the cinema is a preference of Gabriel that likes movies, but it's also to watch with people for awakening. And so it comes back for this confusion of symbols to find this clarity of purpose, and find that present trust. And that's when we wake up and we were talking about that, and said, well, let's call David, because that's a symbol of giving the illusion to the truth, and saying that and we were praying together, saying, well, Jesus, we don't have to have any closed room, take all the keys, and if there is some room that's still closed, we are here to give you the keys open and release it to the light.
Yeah, and I feel that we felt to ask for help because the form was too real. It's like, oh my God, we are really believing that we are like, the project is complex. Like the form seems too real. And I say, okay, so this is like, for me, it's a symbol that we are losing contact with the purpose. And I don't want just like intellectual understanding of the purpose. I want to feel. And was so symbolic because yesterday I was guided to meet my sister and my uncle, and then we went like in a small store, and I felt to buy like a dress. It was really obvious, but the dress was bigger. And I said, oh my God, with many things I have in mind, do I need to find someone to fix the dress for me? And like at night, I received a message from a woman that she fixed like clothes. And she's like, hi, Paulinha, I'm going to be there in your building next week. I felt to ask if you need something. And for me, it was just like, oh, that's what I want, to feel that Jesus is really giving like things. I don't need to, so.
How beautiful. Well, it's interesting too, because I did see that photo, I think on Instagram, of Patricia painting. Also, I recently received an announcement from you. It was like a video of Dallas Jenkins and his wife Amanda, who are the makers of the Chosen series, coming down to Brazil, just ready to catch a plane to come to Brazil. And the thing about it is, I think they are also trying to follow Jesus, live their life in a very dedicated way. And when they make The Chosen, they set it up as a company, not even a nonprofit, as a for-profit company, where they would hire actors and actresses and script writers, and of course Dallas is kind of like the director, but his wife Amanda is very involved in lots of discussions. They have discussions like you both have all day long, because their expression of love and devotion to Jesus and trying to live the life of Jesus is to produce a series that comes out, season 1, season 2, season 3. I think they're just ready to start putting out season 4. And there's been all kinds of controversies that have arisen more recently about even when they were filming, somebody maybe wears a hat or has a symbol of LGBT, of gay, and it goes against a lot of Christian beliefs around gays, and it turns into a giant firestorm, which they answered briefly, and then they have to answer it in much more depth. Mostly Dallas doing that. But I think the thing I take away from that is that you both are aware that you're letting all the key, saying, Jesus, open all the doors in our mind, open all the beliefs, open all of our thoughts to healing. And so in one sense, you're already aware that even though it seems like it involves houses and people and what could seem to look like some kind of community living situation, that you're both aware that that's not really it. That if you would go by the belief that that's actually what's happening, that would actually make things very distressful, very chaotic, very intense. And I think that's the same with Dallas Green and his wife Amanda. They've got to keep having their heart-to-heart communications. They had to realize they have a core set of values when they first started, and they have had to stick with their core values. What are the priorities? What are the values? Because they've been doing this for years, and when all the seeming public controversies started and people making memes and videos and taking sides, and it started to explode, then they really had to start to face like, wow, why did we get into this in the first place? And I don't think either of them saw it coming either. They didn't see themselves getting so involved in a global movement of a series that would go into all these countries and touch the lives of so many people. They just started off with crowdfunding and pay it forward, and they were just going like show to show, hoping that they had enough money to continue making the shows. But now it's exploded into this massive thing. And So when I listen to them and I listen to both of you, I can see that's why when I started just starting to open up to the idea of spiritual community, and Jesus was saying, just keep it real simple with no people pleasing and no private thoughts. Just use these two guidelines, but practice them. Uh, don't just have them, down on a piece of paper, but actually really practice them. And then he said that will open up these kind of open, honest, direct, heart-to-heart discussions that don't always feel easy, but they always bring a lot of healing, because the goal is open, direct, honest communication. And I think both of those guidelines, no people pleasing and no private thoughts, are aimed towards, please take me to a state of non-judgment where I can just accept all things exactly as they are. I remember also I was reading, Jesus was telling me that everyone who seems to come to planet Earth and to time and space, they will organize their perception based on their belief system. So when we're looking at the world, the whole world, we can say that it's like a perceptual reflection or a motion picture of our consciousness. And that was helpful for me because no matter what was going on, whether it was globally or in the country or in the community or even in the partnership or even in my mind, psychically, that it was just showing me what I believed. And that Jesus was telling me, he said, that's really important because you will perceive what you believe. And until you start to question some of those beliefs in lack, beliefs in privacy, beliefs in exclusion, beliefs in comparison, um, beliefs in future outcomes in form, like what would be a successful community? Jesus is like, don't ask that question because you'll miss my point if you're looking to that. Because as soon as we start looking to these kind of unconscious future outcomes, then the fear comes in. The fear of consequences, the fear of making a wrong turn, of making a wrong decision that will involve a cost or some kind of penalty or some kind of a feeling of sacrifice. And I really wanted to retain that sense of lightness and laughter and playfulness because that to me reminds me of innocence. When we're laughing and we're playful and we can joke, that to me is important. That's one of the reasons why I actually enjoy watching the Chosen series, is because the Jesus in the series has a sense of humor. He's playful with the apostles. He's playful with Mary Magdalene and the wives and the women that are around him. He's quite playful with those that are closest to him, and then those that are other around him, that are trying to trap him or trick him or arrest him or something like this, then he just seems to kind of go back into prayer and trust that he's safe with everything and everyone. But I especially like how playful he is and humorous with those that he's close to. And I've really tried to hold to that as best I can. It's not easy when there's something, darkness is coming up and it seems like serious and intense. That's being playful and joyful and laughing is the farthest thing from the mind. But initially, I think if you both pray together and you really come back to just some basic core, simple principles or values that you hold dearly, and you stay with those, you just keep the conversation really direct and simple between both of you, even if there's more people that want to join in, you've kind of got to hold the torch with those values and principles. Because if it starts to feel like the torch is taken out of your hands, or that is just gone out of control, then that's when the fear level can start to go up. Oh my gosh, what the doubt thoughts come in. What did I even think I was doing? Why did I even go down this road? You know, the doubt thoughts can come up pretty strong when we get away from the core principles. And for most people in the world, just being married and having one household or one apartment is as much as they can take. That's they're up to their chin in intensity and communication. And so that's why these broader principles that you really feel deeply, and you actually feel they're for everyone, for the whole world, that you're kind of birthing these principles in your mind, in your experience, not trying to change the world. You're not going to try to let this become an image that you have to protect. You're not going to let this become political. Sometimes I'm not just talking about political the way the world talks about it, but even when you have nonprofits, which Frequency Demore is now a nonprofit, and if you have a board, I said initially I was willing to have my name be on and participate in nonprofit boards with one condition, that we always had to communicate and remember that this is about our connection and nothing else. Because for me, if it got into people like taking real votes, 3-2, and 2 upset what the other 3 voted on, I said, I'm out. If it ever gets political, even in terms of the boards, I'm out. I'll have to go my way, because that's not really in line with my purpose. I'm not here to try to manage people. I'm not here to try to control something in form. I'm here to try to live the teachings of Jesus and really mean it. You know, I'm not here. So I think that was important for me to myself to say, as long as I can stay with my principles, my core principles, then I will be involved in something. And if people come to me at some point and they say, no, we don't, we want to do something else, then I just say, then good, I bless you. You have to do what you feel you have to do. I always enjoyed, I just watched a video a few weeks ago on Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. So we have these iPhones, and I've got a computer that he helped bring about, and tablets and all these things, laptops. But he actually formed Apple, and then he formed a board of trustees or board of directors, and then he got fired from his own company. And at the time, he said in the video, he said, I didn't even know the founder could get fired from, but he was designing things and had some ideas for products that the board did not agree with. So even though he was the founder, they fired him. And he did say at a commencement address at a university that was one of the greatest things that ever happened to him, because even though it was emotional when he got fired, he met people after he came through his drama. He met people that would help reflect his whole new direction for life, his whole new purpose. He met the people, he met his wife, he met all the ones that would be so connected with him for the rest of his days until he passed away with pancreatic cancer. I think he was only like 56 when he passed away, but But one of the things that he said was one of the key points was when he got fired from his own company. That takes a lot of humbleness, because that goes so opposite to the whole world. You know, the world would say that's a disaster. How could that even happen? You know, even with Jesus, you know, he seemed, the more focused he was and the more clear and direct he was as the 3 years of his public ministry went along, I think some of his biological family were shaking their head. A lot of friends, family, people around him thought he had completely lost it. And the way they would say too, it didn't end well. But I think we're starting to realize that, you know, all of our judgments of beginnings and endings are not the truth. We can put a lot of focus on those things, but in the end, you know, there's some kind of, it's a trust inside of us that's so strong, and it just grows stronger and stronger as we go along. But I feel like that will help you organize things with the houses. Another thing is, like, when you have houses, you know, we tend to think of there are people residing in the houses. And yet I had to think of it more as like symbols. These are just symbols of my mind. Because there are people that came to work on the houses that didn't live there. They were workers, contractors. This woman is stopping by your apartment complex to make an adjustment on your dress, your new dress. She's not, you're not recruiting her to be part of the community. She's just showing up to say, hey, I can help you out. I can alter your dress. And there were so many people that came that were not really residing in the house. The other thing, I think people have to feel free that if they are to reside there and you feel it, and you feel it fits in with these core values and the values that you're aiming for, then that's a wonderful thing. But people also have to be always aware that they can choose to join you or choose to not join you in it, to choose to reside with you or choose to not reside, with no kind of overlay, like no kind of story about living there or not living there. Because Jesus was telling me is people have to feel that they have a sense of praying and following their guidance and choosing. And that's so important, because he said if they don't feel that, then they could feel coerced, or they could feel that they've been tricked into something, or they could feel that something was taken away from them, that something was lost. And Jesus said, no, you don't want to go towards any of those feelings. The ego will, of course, come up and it will judge things, feel what it feels. But I think that's another part of spiritual community, is just to keep it as simple as possible. And I always had to come back to, how do I feel? that was the most helpful thing for me. Listen to everybody, but then I had to be aware, how do I feel? Does it feel expanding? I have a nephew who is only 22 years old, and I met him on my trip to Florida, and he has an Instagram page. So I said, well, I'm going to look him up, and I'm going to follow him on Instagram. Yesterday, I came in, I just hopped into Instagram on my computer, and the first reel, the first video was my 22-year-old nephew, and he was in his truck driving, and he had a little camera there, and he was recording a reel, and he was saying, you have to keep expanding. Don't let anything from the past hold you back. Don't let past family hold you back. Don't let past friends hold you back. If you're in a certain group and circle and you don't feel you're growing and learning and expanding in the circle, then he said, get out of that circle. Because he's only 22. He said, I just want to keep growing and expanding. And he said things too. He said, if he said, if you're the smartest person in the room, then get out of that room. You need to be with people that will help you expand, not people that you tell what to do or how to think. You need to be with people that will help you expand your awareness. And I thought, wow, that's fantastic to listen to my 22-year-old nephew. I was so thrilled to hear his message because I thought, yeah, that's a good message all the way through, that we're not here to try to make something static or form some kind of structure and to maintain some status or structure. We're just here to grow and expand. And I think that's what Jesus wants for all of us. That's really the simplicity of it. He just wants us to keep expanding intuitively. So if something intuitively feels right for you, then I think go for it fully. And if it doesn't feel right, then take time to pause and pray on it, because you don't have to jump into anything and you don't have to try to make anything happen. You can just kind of allow it to happen every day. Just allow it.
Wow. Yeah, and I think you were like intuitive, like answering like our question, because like right now what's really going on here is like we are feeling to take these steps about like how this Frequência do Amor house will work, and things are arriving around this, like who is gonna reside there, who's gonna just serve, or we're gonna have like projects there, like with time, which feels more, right now it feels more gentle to have, for example, 2 months projects and working there. And I don't know, we are like really praying about this. And I'm experiencing a lot of intensity because I'm seeing some reflections of doubts about this. Even like, for example, Michelle and Gabriel, the other Gabriel, they have like a lifelong commitment with like Jesus too. But they also have like their lives. Like Michelle has like her husband, and Gabriel still like he's still praying about some things. And this Gabriel doesn't have like a strong yes to live in this house. And I say, oh my God. And I'm feeling that Jesus is asking me to talk about like commitment, and it feels important. But I was like, how I'm gonna do this? Because like I don't want the commitment with the form. Like it's not about commit with the house or with Frequência do Amor or with Paulinha or with, because it's a big house, so we're gonna need help with like cleaning and kitchen and maintaining of the house. So we have functions. But yeah, and I talked to Lisa a lot about this. She helped me a lot, like really go deeper. And as she said to me, like, take this ship. Jesus is asking you to take this ship. And like right now it feels, I don't know, confusing how to take this ship, what it look like it's in form, but it's not. And Gabriel, he's feeling guided to some like a function, which is like the transition. He sold his company to a big bank, but it seems that there will be like a time of transition for him. Like, so he will need to stay more in São Paulo, and he's praying about this. So right now we are like in the middle of this, like really needing some clarity around these commitments. And yeah, maybe you can talk. I don't know if you want to share something else about this.
Yeah, I think that it's this unwinding of any self-concept, because also like when I sold the company, I thought, well, now I'm going to live in the community and be a spiritual teacher and student and be in the mountains, meditating, relaxing. I even had a call with David and I said, well, now I want to break free from complexity. And what happened is that seems that there was a function that I did to help in this transitioning. And one day I said, when I was going to talk with the president of the bank to give the answer.
Tell about the dream, the fire dream before it was important. The symbol of the fire.
Okay.
Was before this talk,
before,
right?
Yeah. I had a dream where everything was getting fire, and like, but I wouldn't get into the fire. I could help people without being burned. And when I woke up, I just played the shuffle music on the car and started a music that I never listened before, which was Circles of Ludovic Einaudi, I think, which is about uh, fire of purification and how the spirit is always involving you and is always helping, and everything is burning, but this is the process of purification. And I was, well, something wants to talk with me, but I can't understand. And then I was going to do a transaction to like pay a something, and then I was going to open the app. I saw the Santander app, which is the bank, that suddenly it's a flame. And so I listened in this time, you can get into the fire that you're not going to burn. And after that, like the bank was answering me to help with these functions. And I said, well, Jesus, no way. I'm not going. Not this
I'm
time.
out. I'm going to the mountains, to the
Don't
monastery.
give me any options. And then I went to the tower of the bank to talk with the president of the bank. And when I got into the building, there was just a sign like, I am. I sent the picture to Paulinha and said,
inside of Matrix, like
inside the
he was like,
Matrix,
I'm
there
feeling
was-
like the Matrix, and there is like I am sign here.
So I went to the top floor to talk with the president in that big room, and I said, Jesus is not enough. I'm still really afraid. Don't give me a choice. What I have to do here? And then it came a person that serves, like in the room, and I said, well, nice to meet you. What's your name? And he said, my name is Jesus. And I started laughing. And he said, well, you like it, my name. Here on this floor, it's me, Mary and Moises. Which opened, and I started laughing. And then I have this talk, and I said, well, I can't have a commitment to serve you because my commitment is to serve God. And if this is what he wants, I'll be here, but not with a commitment with a company or something. Here for the better of the all and for me. And it seems to be very like have a true calling, but I'm resisting a lot because I want to be here with Paulinha. I want to be like in the house, and so this is bringing more intensity for everything because it's the dismounting of the company, but I have this some time of transition and I having to travel a lot, and I was avoiding complexity, but it's complexity that is coming. And the only place that I can relax is like I feel that I'm being I don't say how to say encurralado, but the way is getting thinner and I have to be present, because if I do one step out, it comes all the matrix way, it comes in one instant, like David says, to be the carpet, don't go out of the net.
Stay on the carpet. Keep your hands on the carpet.
Yeah, and these thoughts of, well, do I still, when protecting something, still I wanting something? How can I, because it's really not the self-concept that I was seeing together with the house. And we are questioning also like what is a spiritual community? what is that? And it seems to be much more than living in the same house, or being in the umbrella of some symbol or some institution. It feels like something that can't be inside a house or inside the institution or inside a book or inside, but it's a state of mind to be united, and don't use past learning to try to fill the box of spiritual community. That's the box of spiritual community. And I feel that he must have some really specific function, because it feels like a surreal movie, like company matrix and houses and David guiding us and Jesus and
Yeah.
that's a pretty confusion, and how to meet, how this is always going to fit. It feels like no past and just present trust, one step at a time. Yeah.
And at the same time, it feels really important for him. I feel like we are really close, and he's really using this opportunity to let the emotions come, and to practice like the communication, like the clear communication, no private thoughts, no people pleasing, because if he people please, like there, he will suffer. So it feels perfect. And he, at the same time, he is helping, like he's supporting me, because he's not directly involved with the house. So with the intensity that is arising, it feels like helpful for him. Yeah, but that's where we are now.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because like even if you start with the word community and you shrink it, shrink it down to just commune. Commune is part of your communication with God and with each other. Commune, when we talk about communing with God, we're really talking about staying in the prayer. And I think that's when I was telling you earlier how Jesus sent me to so many different houses, apartments, all around the country, around the world, was he was kind of teaching me, don't think of community. No, don't even go there. Just come back to the commune. Because even though at times your bodies will be in different places, you can call each other at those moments when I need to just join and connect. I need to join in prayer with you of something. It can be about anything, because the situations and form will seem to look very different. Just like for me, going around to many, many different houses seemed to be very helpful for me to start to deepen in my purpose. And I may have preferred to be off in the mountains, because I did some travels and gatherings, and I was up in the Rocky Mountains with a group, and we were doing eye gazing and singing hallelujah, and we were doing all these things, and I was thinking, I want to do this the rest of my life. But Jesus had much different plan, which was more to stay connected, stay in the prayer together, and be able to just join and connect moment by moment as needed, just to remember the purpose, to stay in the communing, and remember the communication of communing. So I think, yeah, that's kind of how it goes, where there's quite a bit of unwinding. And so we could say there's past knowledge, past symbols, even of you, Gabriel, being the head of a company. You've gone through so much undoing just with the company as a backdrop, from promoting a company to trying to sell it, and then being made the CEO or the CFO of a company. You've kind of, like a diamond, you've already faced many aspects of being used just with the company. And then with Paulina, with Frequency the More, there's been so many shifts and changes. Like every time you would come to Mexico or come to visit me, you would come back, and the diamond had shifted. Everything had shifted around. You weren't coming back to the same Frequency the More. It was like, it was a brand new. And that builds trust. Because when we're not caught up in the changing form and judging it and evaluating it, then we can just let things be as they are and stay in the communion. And that seems to be the way that forgiveness works. You know, we just they have to be used in ways that we can still do. Like here where I'm at now, I'm at this little peace house in Cincinnati that has been around since 1996. This goes back quite a few years, but the configuration's a little bit different, and it's always brand new. It's every day. It's like it doesn't matter how many years, it's still facing the same things. Okay, what do we need to do today? Tell us, Father, I feel to do alive. Oh, what are you going to do it on? I don't know. I'm still in prayer. That I didn't know that piece of the puzzle. She felt to go to a home improvement center to look into flowers, and I said, "Good, I'll do my live. I don't know what it's going to be yet. You go and you get the flowers, and then later on we'll join at cleaning the patio with the power brush, power washer." So, but we just commune moment by moment, just communing. The form can look however it looks, and the form really doesn't look the way we idealize, because even when we think of spiritual community in houses, we have thoughts that come to mind. Like Gabriel was like, okay, I'll go, I'll show some movies and engage with people in the theater, maybe have some lunch. We'll go off and get some mats and do some meditation and go into some deep meditations together. And then the unwinding looks completely different than the ideal. You know, it may come to be that, you know, it may be that as you go along, that's exactly what you're doing. You know, okay, movie session in the morning, let's have some lunch, let's have a little siesta in the afternoon, followed by meditation, maybe a walking meditation around the grounds, and then we go to sleep. You know, we can have an ideal, but it doesn't always come to pass exactly during the time frame that we believe it should happen. The timing of it seems to come in a much different way. Yeah.
Yeah. And let it go the expectations again, as you were saying, because we create some expectation. When we found this house, like, okay, and was really guided. I felt Jesus say, okay, so now everybody, because this apartment was really small for us, we really needed like a bigger space. And Jesus, and I thought it was this house that we're building. It's like, okay, so when we finish the house, and then the other house appears, like, okay, another house. And then I say, okay, we found the house, so everybody will be ready to move to the house. And the house is there, and nobody's actually living there. Patricia is just willing to stay like few days there, and yeah, I have no control, but at all the time letting go of the expectations and just trust.
And the other day, there is a lot of these house things here, and I came back from São Paulo, which I'm going like 3 days in a week, and I said, well, Paulinha, I think that it would be gentle to have an apartment in São Paulo so I can get quieter there. And I said, no, but one more house.
3, 2, 3.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful too, because you both have such open hearts. I heard that you had invited Kenneth and Nana to come, which is so beautiful too, because they've been out traveling a lot, and for Nana, this is all brand new. Even traveling with Ken was not something that she saw necessarily coming, and so it's ever new. But that's kind of interesting too, because as everybody seems to be given like assigned parts by, I call it JC Central. That's what I call Jesus.
JC Central.
So when people say, what's happening? I'm saying, we're waiting for instructions from JC Central today.
I love it.
then, and then everybody plays their parts. Gabriel may be going to Sao Paulo for 3 days a week, part of an unwinding of the company and the transition. And then Paulina, you can be given the part that feels helpful for you. It's not like the parts are always fixed. Oftentimes I feel like they do come in with kind of like an assignment feeling for a period of time. And even with our community now, which has evolved and evolved many times over many years, it still feels like that commitment is important. Of course, there's a deeper commitment to forgiveness and to waking up. But in terms of time, sometimes it's organized around projects or skills. Sometimes people will just come and say, I want to reside in the community, but there's no strong guidance or instruction, or their skills don't fit in to any projects. And we just pray that if we're going to do a project, we trust Jesus will send the people with the right skills and abilities. Also, another one that's very common in human existence and human living is the financial part of it. But I've had to try to take my filters off of all that and just really go into prayer. Like if there's this very strong feeling like someone could be helpful in a particular situation, then we trust that Jesus will bring this person to our mind, and that will be part of something that we may not see the full picture. Like, for example, in Mexico, we have La Casa de Milagros, as you're both aware of, and we seem to get into all kinds of things around electricity use. We have solar panels and usage, using a lot this summer, and it turned into kind of a complex situation around electrical use. And so there was holy encounters with electricians, an electrician from Guadalajara, and with the utility company CFE. And then another character came in that we didn't originally see, was a friend of ours who lives in Canada, Vancouver, Canada, who's a professional electrician. And we're like, whoa, Canada. And then prayed, Kirsten felt it, yeah, Soren, yeah, Jason, yeah. So, this friend Richard had to unwind from sell a van, lease an apartment, take steps. But in a matter of days, in September, he's going to come down to the community, and just where we need an electrician the most, he's going to land and be there to help out at La Casa de Milagros, a professional electrician. It's almost like Jesus saying, you got to trust me here, but you people are going to need more than you can handle. You're going to need a professional to come and live in your community for some weeks or months to help sort this out. But it's just like you, Paulina, with the dress. You were thinking, I don't need to be thinking about altering a dress. I hand that over to you, Jesus, and then you get the message. I'm going to be in your apartment complex, and it's all handled. That's a miracle. When things like electrical issues are handled by a friend of ours who's been in and out of our community, and we love him very dearly. He's a professional electrician coming. That's just a gift from the Holy Spirit. You just have to just go, thank you. We couldn't see that necessarily at the beginning, but his name did come up from Jesus in our prayers, and we jumped on it, and he jumped on it, and it's going to be a blessing. I can feel it.
Thank you for sharing, because I just remember like a miracle around this too, and I'm feeling to extend to remember to myself, because yeah, when we found this house, the Frequência do Amor house, yeah, after we found, and then it took like a while for the family was living there, and I had this thought, oh my God, the house needs repairs. It's a whole old house. But I had the same thought, like, I'm not gonna worry about this. This is yours, Jesus. This house is yours, so take it. I just tell me what to do. And I woke up one day here in the apartment. We have like two other rooms, and the room that Gabriel's has his closet has like a bed, and the the closet broke. The door from the closet broke, and I called two people to repair, and it was too expensive. I didn't felt, and I let there for months, like really months. I think it was like 2 months, three, I don't know. And so, and it was like a mess because people were coming, and Michelle and Gabriel was coming, and they were the only room and no door. And one day I woke up and I heard like, you're gonna fix the door. And I say, okay. And then Neuza was here helping me, and I said, Neuza, do you know someone that can help us with the door? And she was like, oh, actually I do. The girl that I work downstairs, she invited like a guy. He's really good. He does everything. So just call him. No, and then I say, I'm gonna ask her to give me this tomorrow. And say, no, I need today. Can you please call her? And then she's like, yes, I can. And then she called, like in 2 hours, he was there. He was here. Andre, he called Andre. And he came, and he's like, he's like a builder. He's a professional. He understands about everything, like really. And then he went here and helped us. And we were like actually working some songs. And with Gabriel and Gabriel, we were like receiving a song called "The Heaven Is Now," beautiful, and we were stuck in this song. Like we couldn't like flow, and a lot of healing between the three of us. Yeah, many things. And then Andre came and he wrote like 60 songs for Jesus. And he had like a heart broken because he was part of like a church, and he wasn't like agreeing with the church, and he left and stopped singing, but he had like 60 songs. And he was like hearing us, and then he came and helped us with the song. We all sing it together.
Fix the door and fix the song.
Fix the door, fix the song, and helped us with the house, because everything we needed in the Frequência do Amor house, he took it. And it was like really a total miracle, because everything we needed, like from the shower to the painting, he helped with everything. But in my mind, I was still judging, because Gabriel, the other Gabriel, was like it was really intense for him, but I felt to give him this function to help with the construction. But was really intense for him. And in my mind, I was like, oh, Andre, we need to hire him, like pay him, because yeah. And I was like, I can't pay. It has to be a volunteer. Like all these like thoughts, but everything was flowing to this. And yeah, it was a miracle, because yeah, I don't know, I just tried to explain, because to remember myself that Jesus is really taking care, really bringing.
I think that's the most important thing, because we aren't to try to figure it out, but we are to keep just praying and listening and following. And it also, both of you know too, that the circumstances around the book, This Moment Is Your Miracle, in Portuguese, getting the translation that Victor and Juliana had worked on for 2 years. And then it kind of reached a little bit of a snag after you had worked and had a miracle joining with the publisher, New Harbinger, and how that would work. And I was saying, yes, just take the book and use the proceeds for Frequency de More and so forth. And that was beautiful too, because Paulina and I and Victor had a beautiful miracle call, and everything in 20 minutes was sorted and came really clear and clean, even though it had taken some weeks until just patience until that came in. And I feel like that's like the key to everything. You know, we don't have to try to force things, or we don't have to try to analyze things and try to use our past learning, because this is a journey of praying and listening and following, and then it just shows up. And even with our collaborations around this, the Thinkific and the Mystical Christ Academy and the teachings, the whole thing, and Diana Deneb coming in, and you having such a connection with her, Paulinha, and then you both agreeing to, let's just take it one step at a time and let it be shown. So I think we see so many examples when we don't try to control it. It just works out so wonderfully, just spectacularly. And it's because I think behind it all, Jesus is just helping us with the most practical things. Every project we do, every unwinding we do, every house or apartment or broken door or broken song or anything, it all gets handled when we just keep trusting. And then we just need to remind each other about all these miracles that we're having every day. We're getting so many miracles that, because the ego will try to put a dark spin on everything. It's always going to try to tell us what's going wrong instead of reminding us how spectacular the miracles are, you know. So we just keep reminding each other of it, and it just, that's our communion, you know. That's, we don't have to get too far off into community. We can just shrink it back down to commune. We're just communing in spirit, and then we don't have to get into the complexities of the form, because really Jesus and the Holy Spirit are going to handle all the form. You know, we will seek first the kingdom of heaven, and we will let everything else be added unto us. And you know, we're just learning every day to build our faith. Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you. This was so spontaneous. I just had a feeling to do a live. Your message came in right when I was sitting in front of the screen. I didn't know what the live would be about, but there it is. I didn't have to know what the live would be about. Even this little joining, it's just a perfect example of just trust and make the prayer. And I'm so glad you reached out to me on WhatsApp, and I was sitting here, turned over, saw the message, and didn't have to do a thing. It just all happened.
Me too. We are so grateful. And before I sent the message, we wrote together, and I read to him, and I said, "Okay, this is for the whole universe. We are asking this help for this whole universe." And I never could imagine that we'll be here sharing live. So
yeah, literally for the whole universe. Jesus is like, yeah, it really is.
Let's be in commune.
Yeah.
I was remember the first time that we thought about starting the community, we started a group called Commune. Because it said, well, it's all about that, and now
it's come back full circle, back to the commune.
Keep here.
Well, we're all in this together. I'm so glad. So glad we could share this for everyone. It looks like there's 63 people on with us right now. So suddenly, spontaneously, 63 of us from wherever we are in the world came together for this message. And it's our quantum moment of communing with God, communing with the Holy Spirit and Jesus. And yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you're in my life. And I'm so grateful actually for these kind of technologies that allow us to have such a deep connection so easily. Because you've made the trip, and I've made the trip down there, so we know that's a lot of logistics with airplanes and bodies and food and places to stay. And then Jesus is like, oh, this can be simple. We can do this in a real simple way, and we're still discovering that.
Yeah. We are so grateful. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Okay, well, thank you for everyone who joined us today, or whoever watches this. Just remember to stay in communion with the Spirit. That's the main thing. Just trust. Okay. Beautiful. So I do have to find the off button. Where-
Exit button.
We have to find the end stream button. There it is. This is new for me too.